Now we're going to move on to a slightly different perspective. So this is less about personal development, training and support. It's about how Zenzic has been trying to pull together something that is similar in a way, on a bigger scale though, to a slot we had this morning looking at connectivity. It's looking at all of the interconnections that are going to need to be made and in what order they're going to need to be made if we're to get the advantages that the government is so keen to bank for us from the connected and automated world of road use. So I'm very pleased to introduce Tristan Bacon. Hopefully you're there, Tristan.
I am.
Excellent, in which case I'm going to say the virtual microphone is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here. I'm Tristan Bacon. I'm in the technology team at Zenzic, so work on a variety of our projects at Zenzic, but my focus has been on this UK connected and automated mobility roadmap to 2030. So just for those who aren't familiar with what Zenzic do, we were set up by government and industry to focus on key areas of capability in UK connected and automated mobility. And as Steve said, we are focused on bringing a very cross-sector ecosystem together to bring those long-term benefits in CAM. And one of the fundamental things as part of that is what we call CAM Testbed UK. So CAM Testbed UK is a set of comprehensive and integrated testing facilities across the testing spectrum, from controlled environments to real world environments. And testing is really fundamental, especially at this stage, to the eventual successful scale up and deployment of these technologies, products and services. So we've got our controlled environments at Cavway, Millbrook and Hariba Myra there, semi-controlled at Culham Urban Testbed called RACE, and then through to our real world environments at Midlands Future Mobility, Smart Mobility Living Lab, and also the data aspect there is covered by the Convex project there. So that's a very quick a few points on what Zenzic do, but one of the key activities that Zenzic have been undertaking over the last couple of years or so is the UK Connected and Automated Mobility Roadmap. And as Steve said at the start of this afternoon's session, we did have an update in October. So the very exciting second release, second update of the roadmap. So I'm going to be talking about the roadmap as a whole from its inception and from the ground up, and also talking about some of the specific features of the update that has just gone live. So I think it's always worth coming back to why we are doing something. And in our very early presentations where we were showcasing the roadmap, having the end in mind was absolutely key. We are all too aware of the benefits that connected and automated mobility can bring us. Safety and security is one that we talk about a lot in the ecosystem with various different stakeholders, and the contribution of human error to road collisions is far too high, and it can be reduced a lot with connected and automated mobility. There are also real opportunities in unlocking productive time in vehicles, especially towards the higher levels of automation where less attention is needed to be paid on the road. You can unlock productive hours in those future CAM services and automated self-driving vehicles. There's also a massive opportunity for access to transport. We know that there are issues with mobility for many in our society today, and CAM offers many solutions and benefits in that area. And altogether, there is a big economic opportunity here as well. So the UK CAM ecosystem is essentially pressing towards these benefits. And the roadmap's role with the UK CAM ecosystem is sharpening the consensus and driving that collaboration that is so essential to get there. But one of the key questions is, well, why do we really need the roadmap? Surely if the UK CAM ecosystem is there and it's working in that direction, then do we really need this force of the roadmap driving behind it? And I think one of the key things to remember is that we work with a very cross-sector ecosystem. And it's always good to recognise that there is brilliant work being done in the UK across many of the different sectors. And we're recognised year on year at international levels for the quality of work that is produced. But the ecosystem is incredibly cross-sector, and you can't expect all of the sectors to necessarily for such a big goal to be focusing in the same direction. So coordination is absolutely essential to realise these benefits. And that coordination isn't inevitable. It doesn't just come out of thin air. There needs to be some sort of driving force behind it. And that's really where we come to the roadmap. And here's the definition of the roadmap, if you like. And one of the key things that I want to highlight is this word tool. So we said in 2019 in September, when we first launched the roadmap, that this wasn't a document that was going to be published and quickly gather dust on a shelf. This needed to be dynamic. It needed to be adaptive and needed to be updated with the fast-moving ecosystem that is connected and automated mobility. And through the tool that is the roadmap, it provides a number of different things. Because it's been contributed to from experts across industry, academia, and government, there's a collaborative view which takes into account many different perspectives on what we need to do to achieve that successful scale up and deployment of CAM. Because it is a consensus, a broad consensus across many different sectors, people can come to the roadmap with a certain level of trust, which means that ultimately there's a reduction of risk in their strategies and how they can then approach CAM endeavours in their own organisation. The roadmap, because it is built with relationships at its core, it provides custom insights for different organisations. So you can come to the roadmap and with a variety of different tools in the roadmap toolkit, as it were, mixing metaphors, you can generate your own custom tailor-made insights for particular organisations or topics. And this shared vision is just absolutely essential to all of those previous points. So what are the roadmap tools, or rather, what are the roadmap tools in the roadmap toolkit? So the interactive roadmap is our web-based platform, and in there you can find all of the data underlying the roadmap. So that is all of the descriptions, the metadata that comes with all of the activities, the relationships, and we've got some additional information that has come with the release that happened in October, including real-world activity information and progress, as well as a set of tags that can help you to more easily identify activities that are relevant to you. We've got a roadmap report, which is the image there, and that has been updated with the update in October. In there, you will find some detailed breakdowns of what we call golden threads, which I'll come on to in a minute, and also some details about the creation process of the roadmap, and also the additional sections of the release in October, looking at the real world activity that is going on, and also having a little bit of a dive into the impacts of COVID-19 as well, another notable point there. We've got the roadmap overview, which has proved a very useful and popular tool with many of the stakeholders that we talk to, and that provides a very high level view of the key activities which need to take place between now and 2030 to realise the roadmap's 2030 vision of successful scale up and deployment, and also a set of insight workshops that can be tailored to specific organisations or topics. Brief note on the creation process. So during the entire creation process of the roadmap, we've had over 200 organisations contribute, which amounts to over 300 individuals that have contributed there. And as we move right along this slide, we get to some stats that are from this new update. So we've got 117 of what we call CAM creators. So these are individual, organisations that are showcasing their real world activity in the roadmap, and accessing the opportunities in terms of identifying where they can capitalize in CAM, where they can partner and collaborate with different organizations there as well. And that is an ongoing initiative. We are adding CAM creators to the roadmap, and we want to reflect more and more of the real world activity that is going on in that rich set of data in the roadmap. We can tell from the data that we've collected for the update that's just gone live that over 250 of the milestones in the roadmap, so that's about half, just over half, I think, of the roadmap's milestones are in action in some capacity. And we've got over 1,600 new data points as part of that update as well. And we are immensely encouraged by the appetite from the UK CAM ecosystem to get involved and contribute to that consensus and that collaboration, including the Transport Technology Forum, who did a very thorough submission as part of the update that went live in October. So let's get down to the roadmap itself. What's the structure? What's the vision of the roadmap? How's it laid out? And as I started with the end in mind, with the benefits at the start, I want to start with the end in mind, with the vision of the roadmap here. And the vision is split into two sentences here. The first being about the set of government priorities, but basically priorities overall about what CAM should address in terms of safety, equality, accessibility, and also environmental considerations for CAM. So these are derived from the Department for Transport's considerations, as well as conversations with the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles, the government department that we work very closely with. And the second sentence there is an explicit call to commercialise and industrialise these technologies to reach that big economic prize that comes with the successful development and deployment of CAM. So that's where we're headed, and that determines our roadmap structure. So there are many other great roadmaps out there that are excellent at articulating, particular parts of the challenge, whether it be, for instance, automotive or telecoms. But because we can't treat any traditional industry in isolation, and because it's a very cross-sector ecosystem, we need a comprehensive, as Steve said, a broad structure to be addressing all of the various considerations in CAM. So we've got our 4-theme structure there, and through collaborative scrutiny with various experts across industry, academia, and government, we arrived at this structure, which we think is a really useful way of visualizing the activities that need to take place. And that brings us to the roadmap overview, which I mentioned earlier. And this is the highest, most concise, highest level, most concise version of the roadmap, where you can see the most important activities that need to take place in the next 10 years. So you can see your themes on the left there, and as you move along to the right, you've got your more granular streams there. And you can see along the top, we've got our different phases of the roadmap, with a transition phase around about 2025, where we see broadly moving from this trials development and enabling stage through to the actual scale up and realization of those benefits that I mentioned earlier on. And I opened with a mention of CAM Testbed UK, which is absolutely core to the testing effort, especially now, but throughout the time frame of the roadmap. I mean, as you can see, that is marked with its own stream in the infrastructure theme there. So this is a really good tool for giving a high-level overview of what needs to be done towards 2030. But as I said earlier, the roadmap needs to be a tool. You need to be able to use it, and you need to be able to extract genuine insights and get genuine benefits from it, which takes us onto the interactive roadmap. So this is just a few screenshots from the updated interactive roadmap here. And if you look at the top right picture there, you'll see a collection of activities and relationships across the roadmap's timeframe. And as you can see, there are a lot of different relationships there, and I'm certainly not expecting you to understand or comprehend all of that now, and that is the role of the tags, the search functionality, and all the various tools in the interactive version to effectively reduce down to activities that are relevant to you. So we've got some other features as part of the update. The CAM creators that have been involved in the update are marked, and you can see where they are involved in the roadmap. There's a tutorial on the homepage where you can get your head around and get up to speed with how to use the roadmap and all the various different features. And as part of the update as well, we've added some new information to the roadmap, especially around those real world activities. We've also provided some new ways to feed back and also suggest new activities for the roadmap, and that is on the last view of the roadmap if you access that through our website, for which the link will be to our website at the end of the presentation. So we are aware that when we present the structure of the roadmap, there may be organizations or individuals that view that structure and perhaps think, oh, well, actually, there's not necessarily anything in there which is all that relevant to me. And we are aware that the roadmap should be able to be approached at. You should be able to view it through various different lenses and different perspectives. And that brings us to this concept of golden threads. So golden threads allow those different views of the roadmap to be articulated independent of the roadmap's theme and stream structure. So this graphic just gives a bit of a high-level view of how that works, and it's perhaps illustrated best with a couple of use cases. So you could be creating a topic. You could be creating a standards program, for instance, and you may have dependencies earlier on in other streams, and you might want to take a golden thread approach to work out who is working in those earlier activities and when can I expect their work to be available, and who should I talk to form those relationships that are going to be key to me being able to deliver that standards program. Perhaps another example, maybe we've got an SME delivering a widget, perhaps here in connectivity in the middle here, and they may have some dependencies on the legislation or the roads. It could be any of the streams of the roadmap, and they can also see where their activity unlocks other activity going forward in the roadmap. Taking that golden thread approach enables users to understand what comes before them and actually articulate their path to market much more clearly in what is an incredibly cross-sector ecosystem. So because of this very broad cross-sector structure that we've got, applying this golden threads approach allows you to draw those unique and tangibly useful paths there. So this is a high-level demonstration of the golden thread approach, but this also extends down to much lower levels of the roadmap. So this is a screenshot from our report recently updated in October. And as we can see here, we've got what we call a major deliverable, which is a culmination of independent milestones, many independent milestones, in this case, leading up to a single milestone at the end there. And what we can see here is that the golden thread approach, thanks to the relationships at the core of the roadmap, can be used to see and extract very detailed paths about where particular activities interact and where things are related there. And you can read our report to understand from the key there and how that path flows through in this particular instance. And there are also a collection of other golden thread diagrams in there as well. So just a couple of notes about the CAM creators update. So one of the questions that we got in the kind of after the version 1 release was, this is a really good articulation of what needs to happen between now and 2030, but who is doing it and how is that progressing? So as part of the update, we've got these color-coded activities, and you've got your key at the top there, and we've got evidence underneath. If you open up all of these different activities, there'll be evidence points and supporting evidence about real-world activity that is going on. And you can see the progress that is being made across the various activities of the roadmap. Also, when you open an item, you can see the different contributions and details around real-world activity that are being undertaken. And you've got an example there from Transport Technology Forum against this connectivity activity here. But there's a real range of different data that has been overlaid onto the existing roadmap. And this data brings to life this golden threads concept. Now that we can see where different organizations are contributing to different activities in the various areas and parts of the time frame of the roadmap, you can start to see where potential relationships and paths together and links can be formed in the real world. So we've got data on who is contributing now to these activities, and also organizations that have expressed a future interest in getting involved in certain activities there. And by using that data, and we've got contact information and website information direct in the roadmap, you can make those connections and forge those relationships that is absolutely key to the eventual scale up and deployment of these technologies. We really think that the addition of this data enhances the roadmap's ability to drive those opportunities for sector collaboration, and also provide opportunities for organizations to capitalize on the opportunities in CAM. So just a couple of final notes. We've got a live roadmap demonstration webinar next Tuesday. And if you'd like to register for that, please do visit zenzic.io/roadmap webinar. I hope that's memorable enough. And if you'd like to access the roadmap, please do go onto our website there. And just on this final slide as well, also do download the copy of the report. And if you'd like to get in touch, please do drop us an email. Thank you.
And you're done. Tristan, thank you so much. And I'm sure that we'd be happy to put a couple of those links on the TTF website as well for people who are interested and want to go along. Very little time left if we're going to finish bang on time, which we will, because people have got other meetings to go off to. There was one thing, though, one thing that's coming in on the chat, but I wanted to put to you, which was on the diagram where you've allocated responsibilities or allocated something's happening, something is in train, or in the red, something isn't happening. And I just wondered, maybe it's a case of it depends, but whose job is it to look at those red boxes and turn them green?
Absolutely. So we develop and improve the roadmap and move forward with the roadmap with the principle that this is a tool created by the ecosystem for the ecosystem. And where something is red, we've been very clear with the language at the top that this is something that we think from the evidence that's been submitted is clearly not in progress. So we encourage organizations to come to those activities that are either red or don't have a color. So the dark gray color indicates that we don't have any progress data yet for particular activities. So we do encourage organizations to get involved. And because the CAM Creator initiative is an ongoing one, we hope that as that happens, we can start to collect real world data of those activities that are turning from red to green. So it's a collective responsibility in many respects, and we encourage organizations to seize those opportunities.
Are there any that particularly worry you at Zenzic, or any that sort of leap off the page where you are sort of saying, for goodness sake, we need someone to step up to the plate here? Sure.
So in our report update that went live in October, you'll see a longer exposition on this. One of the particular milestones, we recognise that blueprints, particularly for those rural and highway environments, are one of those key, what we call key enablers. So they have a lot of relationships that kind of explode out to a lot of other activities in the later timeframes of the roadmap. Our data suggests that although activity is going on in this space, the agreement on those common blueprints across local authorities and other relevant bodies is something where there needs to be more work done. But I do encourage you to go to our report where you can see more details about some of those activities.
Excellent. Okay, well, look, that's really informative. Thank you. You heard it here, everyone on the conference. There's lots of material to go and have a look at, lots of interactive material, and I think I heard you say, Tristan, there's a little training tutorial right at the start of the roadmap. So again, for the novice in this picture, hopefully there's help to find your way in and find your way through and find where you need to be on the map, because I think it's probably fair to say, Tristan, if you're on this call, you're on that map.
I think you should be. Yep.
Excellent. Well, on that note, thanks very much.